Welcome to Lawyer Boss Life.
Welcome to Lawyer Boss Life, the podcast where law firm owners learn to build profitable businesses and lead lives they love. I'm LA, law firm growth expert and founder of Law Firm Success Group. I've helped hundreds of attorneys scale their firms, gain freedom, and take back their time.
And I'm Chelsea Pagan. I'm a law firm owner, entrepreneur, and toddler mom. I know it's possible to have excellent income, work 40 hours a week or less, and still take time off because that's what I do.
Today, we're talking about law firm growth and what happens inside your firm as it starts to grow, because the firm's going to go through some changes. And oftentimes, why people join the firm early on um, may be the reason why they're leaving you later on. And what I mean by that is, as your firm changes, you want to make sure that your culture does not, because that's what makes your firm special. And unfortunately, we've seen too many instances where, as the law firm grows, that culture changes. And some of those key employees that have been with you since day one say, you know what, this is not the firm that I joined. I'm leaving. And Chelsea, I know as a law firm owner, this is something that's top of mind for you, and you have done some things in your firm to really preserve that. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your culture in your firm and how you've maintained it?
Yeah, everybody approaches this a little bit differently when they open their law firm, right? You can start with, okay, this is our mission statement, and what are our core values, and what do we really want our employees to embody? I'm going to be honest, that doesn't work for us. It was too formal. It never felt like we were sending that message to our employees in an authentic way. And so we started small. We continue to grow. We have, there's 9 of us now as a team. For a long time, it was only like, 3, 4 of us. And we're planning for our next phase of growth. And I worry about this sometimes. We get different personalities. Do we need to be more formal about X, Y, and Z? Do we need to have, detailed minutes at our team meetings? All of these things that I get worried about as you get bigger. The problem with that is that starts to change me, which means I'm starting to interact with my employees different. I'm starting to not be as accessible to them. And we built this firm on creating a team where everybody felt safe to collaborate, be themselves, obviously within professional boundaries, of course. But, I don't want to lose the water cooler time, that wanting to know how everybody's families are doing. That takes time out of your day for sure, which means we're not always constantly billing. But losing that to me completely ignores the team that we built to try to grow in a direction that may be more profitable in the long run, but will never feel like home. And it's a really hard balance, but I'll tell you, I truly believe my employees are loyal and happy where they are because they have experienced consistency with the environment that they show up to every day.
Yeah, and it is a hard balancing act, because although you want to keep the secret sauce of your firm, what's made your firm a special place, why your employees have joined the firm, and the culture that you want to have,
Mhm.
as you grow, it also has to change.
Mhm.
It can't be the same firm that it was when it was just, you and your partner starting off with maybe 1 or 2 people. Now that you have a team of 9, it's got to be different so that the firm can continue to be healthy and to function for everybody. So it's a delicate balancing act. And this really speaks to what I call, intentional versus accidental culture. Intentional culture is something that, as owners of the law firm, you set out to build. You have a certain standard, a certain way you want your firm to run, a certain feeling you want your firm to have for your employees and for your clients. That is intentionally setting your culture. Accidentally setting your culture is where you don't think about it. It just kind of is there.
Mhm.
Every firm has a culture. The only question is whether it was intentionally set or accidentally set. And Chelsea, what's been your experiences there between that kind of intentional culture setting and then some of the things that just kind of evolved?
Yeah, I think I'll start with the things that kind of just evolved. We have attracted a certain type of employee in different roles at different times, different ages, different backgrounds. And the core at the core of everyone, we have just nice people who are prepared to work for our employees, who are compassionate, who really care about their job. That was kind of accidental, meaning when you hire these people, you're interviewing them, but you don't really see how they interact on a regular basis. And the fact that our team gets along so well, we have no drama in our office whatsoever with employees, and really never have. We feel so lucky. We're going into year 8 and we have not had employee drama or people who didn't like each other. That was kind of natural, and I think that gives me a little bit of that we're going to be okay, kind of messaging when we continue to add new employees, because sometimes it's scary. But we have attracted just good, easy people who are here to do a job, who care about the people that they're working with. So that's an accidental culture that I've seen evolve, especially as we continue to get bigger. And we happen to be all women right now, and that was not intentional at all, just kind of who we hired, and that sometimes can make it a little harder to avoid the drama. But we have not. We've been very successful there, and we just have really great people. But when it comes to the intentional, there are times where, as a law firm owner, I'm worried that we haven't done that as well. Meaning, where have we let things go for one person and not another, and where are we inconsistent? We have messaging, right? We have, this is what we're trying to do. We're not corporate-y. We don't need everybody in a suit every day. We trust our employees to do their job, and we've gotten that trust back, because we're going to take care of them. We're going to keep billing and building a business so they can make more money and provide for their families. There's that trust there. And so that's the place, I think, where I am constantly kind of looking over, like, what would our employees describe our culture like? And there's a couple elements, but then there's always those moments where I'm like, I don't know, are they getting it? Is it just us, or are they getting it? I have to believe that they are, but I believe that, there's always room for reassessing and fine tuning. And that does not necessarily mean huge change either.
Right, right. And so that is the question, right?
Mhm.
What is your culture? And so Chelsea, would love to hear from you. How would you describe the culture of your firm?
Oh gosh, I really probably should have prepared better.
No,
Um,
no,
or
it's better if you
or I
don't.
should
Like,
know this, right?
yeah.
I would describe the culture at our family law firm really as team oriented and client focused, right? So we are all ready to step into any role, partners included, um, when needed. That doesn't mean that nobody knows what they're supposed to be doing or everybody's overlapping. That means sometimes I'm going to be drafting for my head of litigation because she's swamped and we've got a schedule that doesn't allow my associate to help her. And that's not beneath me because I'm the partner. It means, hey, I'm taking care of my team, right? I've hired a team who I rely on. They need to be able to rely on me. So I think that's really where that team orientation comes together. But at the core of it, we are client focused, meaning it doesn't matter if, getting more billables on this case would help my employee get a bonus. It matters, was the outcome right for the client and how much value that gives to our team. It is really, really special when you see your team come back from a hearing stoked because they worked hard on something and got the win for their client. Now, I could sit here and argue how family court is never a win, but that's a topic for a different day. But the client was happy, and then it shows up in the form of a Google review where their name was mentioned and they got called out in a place. There's no better feeling as an employer. I don't care so much about seeing my name. My name's on the door, right? But when my employees have that on there from a client, the value that brings them. And so we really put a lot of emphasis into that. We talked about this in a little bit from time to time about intake and onboarding and how to make sure your clients are guided through every step of the way. And our team is committed to making that routine and predictable, and they all provide their 2 cents. And so that's probably the from the highest level of the things that I think are most important to all of us are those two factors, the team based nature of our day to day, but how always client focus is it. It's really, really fun.
Love that. Love that. And not every firm has a culture like yours. And so I just want to take a moment here to recognize if you're not sure what your firm's culture is, and
Mhm.
you're listening to this or you're watching this, you do have a culture. You do have one, you just haven't said it, and, or you haven't identified it yet,
Mhm.
and that is it's incredibly important to do that because culture is so powerful. It's what attracts clients to your firm, believe it or not, um, and it's also part of why employees join and stay at your firm as well, which makes a lot more sense. The reason there's the link between culture and clients is because your culture is a reflection of your firm's values. And
Mhm.
values are unspoken promises that your firm makes to its clients, to its employees, to you. They're the DNA of your law firm, and that is going to attract clients in a competitive environment. And so identifying those values, knowing that they're a reflection of your culture, and then utilizing that for marketing as well as recruiting is
Mhm.
incredibly powerful. And that's why you don't want it to change. Even though it has to, you want to keep that core intact. And so there's two things as a firm grows that really, really um, attack the culture of the firm. One of those things is time. The leaders of the firm no longer have as much time to spend with their team as they used to. Team members don't have as much time to spend with each other as they used to. And they don't have as much time to get to know new team members who are joining. So the time crunch is really real and it can crush a firm's culture. The other issue is not just time, but unfortunately, it's it's the money. um, as a firm grows, yes, it brings in more money, but it also has to spend more money. And
Yeah.
the amount of money the firm spends in a week or a month or a year, as that number gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it can put a lot of stress on the law firm owners, and it may change how they view the financial health of the firm. And so, when an owner feels that their firm is under threat financially, a lot changes, right? Not only does their personality oftentimes change, but the way that they treat their employees changes. The way that they treat employee benefits changes. I remember this is going back way back to my corporate days when I was in Silicon Valley. One of the companies I was working at, this was like my second company at college, institutionalized donuts on Friday. Like literally every Friday, there'd be donuts in the cafeteria, and people would have their donuts. And as the firm got under more and more financial pressure, I still remember to this day, the day finally came where the company announced no more donuts on Friday, right? People were still getting raises, all that stuff was happening, but just no more donuts on Friday. And it was just crushing. Like people were mourning this whole situation. You would think the firm laid off 20% of the workforce, but it was a critical element of the culture that was now gone.
Yeah.
And this is what happens. So as firms grow, there's a lot of pressure on the time and a lot of pressure potentially on money. And I don't really know, as a business coach, I work a lot of these challenges. There's not really a magic formula. I don't know of a magic formula to do that except to step aside and maybe spend some time intentionally as an owner thinking about how your response is going to be to these situations. What do you think, Chelsea?
Yeah, that's funny that you use that story because this is a slight tangent from talking about all the financials. Usually cutting the donuts on the Friday is not going to make the difference in your firm's financials. Um, but those are the little things for us that if the firm or if their team looks forward to those little moments, that is where the money is worth it. To create that recognition in your team that like, hey, this is small. Like we do coffee every Wednesday and whoever's in the office can get like food. People who are remote, go buy yourself coffee on your employee credit card if you want it. But like it's just on Wednesdays, like our receptionist kind of brings coffee from downtown. It's like extra special kind of on the table, or you can get a snack. Cutting that's not gonna allow me to pay my employees more money, right? That's worth it. And it's the little things. But when it comes to decision making, right, on how to show that value for everybody, right, along the way and how your culture changes, I think it's important as a law firm owner to set your firm up in a way that you can maintain those types of things. So find things that you can maintain. So we do this, we do a celebration survey for everyone. This is just like an example of culture. For every new employee, they have a celebration survey. They provide us like, your significant other spouse's name, or if you have kids, what's their name, what's your shoe size, your clothing size. If you want to share it, they of course never have to. um you know what's something you would buy yourself if you had extra $1,000, extra 500, 250, 100? How do you prioritize, gifts? Do you want an extra PTO day? Do you want cash, gift card, personal gift? And rank those 1 through 5, right? Like, tell us what's most important. And then I think the other questions on there are things like, what's something that you would pay somebody else to do for you that would be a treat? And we have these different for everybody because we were really struggling with buying birthday gifts and how to celebrate anniversaries. And as you get bigger, it causes a lot of stress on the owner to get creative with what to buy your staff. And you want it to be special for that employee. You don't always want to just rubber stamp it and just be like, oh, we do cash for everyone's birthday. So we do a personal gift, personalized for everyone for their birthday. And then for anniversaries, we kind of just do like a gift card because it's just too much work picking out too many gifts. But we have stayed consistent, right? So they know their anniversary every year, they're going to get some gift cards. But their birthday, we're going to spend time using those celebration surveys to make them feel special. And that is fun for us as employers, but I also think it goes to something that we can maintain. No matter how big we get, we can maintain that element because there's a mechanism. There's information I'm getting when they get hired, celebration survey, and there's a process for how to do it. And we implemented that not at the beginning. That was probably like 3 years in. And so far, the feedback that we got is everybody feels like they are actually getting a little bit of extra attention from the partners on their birthday because we did the extra work to get there. I love
Yeah.
it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you know what I think is really great about that is you've been doing that now for what, 5 years, something like that?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years.
So yeah, so if other firms try to, copy that, well, let's say they listen to this podcast and they say, yeah, you know what? I love Chelsea's idea. Let's go implement it. But it's not authentic to them. They
Yeah,
may do it for like 3 months, 6 months, but pretty quickly they're going to abandon the idea because it's not actually authentic to the culture of
yeah,
their firm. So it
totally.
speaks a lot to the culture that you and Emily have developed. And not all firm culture, by the way, attorney entrepreneurs, if you're checking this episode out, not all firm culture is necessarily positive towards the employees. I'll
Mhm,
share with you an example of firm culture, which is a little bit um, more performance focused, and how that can be impacted too as a firm grows. One of my clients is a corporate litigation firm, so the small firm, and they are growing. And when I started working with them, they really, really took a lot of pride in being elite litigators, like the best of the best. That was a big part of their identity. As it
mhm,
started to grow and bring on additional litigators, they found that there was one individual, he just wasn't pulling his weight. He wasn't as invested in the cases. His billables were off. Um, and that was about the time that, we started really to think about this person. And what was interesting is when you have someone like that who is not performing, oftentimes in a high performance culture, that person can have a really negative effect on everybody else. There's a lot
mhm,
of resentment, like, why is the firm tolerating this behavior? And
mhm.
that person can potentially um, impact the performance of others. And so the firm, we eventually took steps to get that person out. And I think he was gone in like less than 6 months. And what was so funny was the partners were really worried about this, and then several of their employees came up to them afterward and said, "You know what? We're so glad that he's no longer here. Thank you so much."
Yeah.
So it can be really, really powerful. So those are some things to be aware of as a firm grows. Chelsea, what advice do you have for law firm owners to safeguard their culture?
Yeah, I mean, the law firm owners really have to decide what kind of environment do you want to work in, right? I've shared a little bit about our culture and the environment we work in. We're pretty casual. It's family law. It's high stress. We don't need to stress about what we wear every day or or X, Y, and Z. But there are some firms that are much more corporate, right? That's just their business. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You just have to decide as the owner, what story are you telling? And so I don't think there's a wrong or a right. Well, there are some wrong elements.
There are definitely some wrongs and definitely
Definitely
some rights.
definitely some wrongs. But if it's coming from a good place and you're treating your employees well and they're happy, right? Like under those circumstances, how you choose to tell the story of the firm that you're building has to do with the law firm owners and what environment you want to work in. I don't want to work in corporate. I would have done that. I want to be able to wear leggings and my Vans and a sweater to work, whether I meet with clients or not. Now, sometimes, depending on it, I like to get all dressed up. And some clients I do it, sometimes I don't. But that is not what people are paying me for, right? I know that about me. I know that about the brand that I've established, and therefore it translates to my firm. And so I always just find it so interesting that some people are trying to replicate where they came from before, what they see in other firms. And um, I was guilty of that at the outset, to be honest. I was. Year one, we started wanting to look like a lot of other firms. And thankfully, I have such a great business partner who, brings out the best of me and allows me and I allow her to really be ourselves. And it was really early in year two where we said, no, this isn't for us. This is what we're doing. And so it really is about figuring out what kind of law firm you as a law firm owner want to work in.
Absolutely. Yeah. As your firm grows, it is possible to keep that secret sauce that makes your firm special. So, lead with authenticity, lead with intention, and your firm culture is going to be just fine. If you want to talk more, visit lawfirmsuccessgroup.com and you can book in a call with me. I'd love to chat with you. If this episode helped you, please share it with a lawyer who's in growth mode. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review if you found this episode helpful. Thanks so much for tuning in today.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.